Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
It's great to be back.
Today we're going to be taking a close look at Steve Jobs.
The biography by Walter Isaacson.
Yes, published back in 2011.
It really is a comprehensive look at his life and work.
For sure. And as always, we've included a link to the book in the show description if you want to follow along.
Definitely encourage you to check it out.
So what we're going to try to do today is really distill some of the most fascinating insights and stories about Steve Jobs.
From this incredibly detailed book.
There's so much to unpack here, from his childhood to his, kind of those pivotal moments that led to the creation of Apple.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
To his, even his struggles and his ultimate legacy.
It's a pretty wild ride.
It is. So let's just start at the very beginning. What were some of the forces, looking back now, that really shaped Steve Jobs into the man who gave us Apple?
Well, I think it's really interesting to see how his childhood experiences influenced him. He was adopted and raised by a working-class couple in Mountain View, California.
Kind of the heart of Silicon Valley.
Exactly. And his father was a mechanic.
Yeah, I remember reading about that.
Who instilled in him this love for electronics.
Right.
And also this meticulous approach to craftsmanship.
Like they would take those weekend trips to the junkyard.
Yeah. You remember that?
Just to find parts?
It wasn't just about finding parts. It was about understanding how things worked.
Right.
How to take them apart, put them back together, and really learning that hands-on approach to problem solving.
And I think also that whole idea of negotiation, right?
Yeah.
Like he was learning how to haggle for the best price.
Absolutely.
Which are skills that would definitely come in handy later on in his career.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But there was also, it wasn't all screwdrivers and, grease and things like that.
No.
He was also exposed to like kind of this really unique design aesthetic.
You're talking about the Eichler homes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Eichler homes in his neighborhood.
They were known for their clean lines, open spaces, a focus on functionality.
It's interesting how those homes really resonated with him. You can see that later in Apple's design philosophy too.
Yeah, that simplicity. The seamless blend of form and function, it really became a hallmark of Apple products.
It's like those seeds were planted early on.
Definitely.
But, we can't forget that he was also surrounded by this burgeoning tech scene in Silicon Valley.
Absolutely.
And he was already kind of diving headfirst into electronics at a young age.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at 12 years old,
12.
He cold called Bill Hewlett.
What
the co-founder of Hewlett-Packard.
Just pick up the phone.
Just picked up the phone, asked for some parts for an electronics project he was working on.
Wow, that's initiative.
It is, and he got the parts.
Oh, wow.
And landed a summer job at HP.
Get out of here.
It's unbelievable.
That's amazing.
I mean, even at that age, he had that self-assurance, that drive that really set him apart.
Now, that's networking.
Right.
Like, take notes, kids. That's how you network.
Exactly.
But he wasn't always, a model student or a model employee.
Yeah.
No, he had a bit of a rebellious streak.
Oh, yeah.
Which, famously, he dropped out of Reed College.
Right.
But he didn't completely abandon education.
No, he kept auditing classes.
Right.
That interested him.
Like calligraphy.
Calligraphy.
Which, believe it or not, had a big impact on him.
What do you mean?
Well, his appreciation for typography and the beauty of letter forms later influenced the design of the Macintosh.
I would have never made that connection.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
Calligraphy to computer fonts.
Right.
Wow.
But he saw the artistry in those details.
That's so cool.
And he wanted to bring that same level of care and aesthetics to technology.
So it was more than just, making things work. It was making them beautiful.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Isaacson also talks about Jobs' spiritual journey to India.
Right.
And his experimentation with psychedelics.
These were unconventional experiences.
To say the least.
But they had a profound impact on him.
In what way? Well, they broadened his perspective, instilled in him a sense of interconnectedness, and really fueled that pursuit of perfection that he was known for.
So all of those things kind of were woven into the DNA of Apple.
Absolutely.
It's really fascinating how all of these seemingly disparate experiences really came together to shape his worldview. It's
a perfect storm of influences.
It is. And then, of course, we have the birth of Apple.
The legendary garage.
The partnership with Steve Wozniak.
The dynamic duo.
Right. We're talking about two brilliant minds coming together.
Wozniak, the engineering genius.
Right.
Able to create these incredible machines and Jobs with the vision to see their potential.
And to turn them into products that people would actually want.
And to market them to the masses.
That's a key thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can have the greatest invention in the world, but if you don't know how to get it out there,
it's meaningless.
It's meaningless.
Right.
And then there's this whole concept of the reality distortion field.
Oh, yeah.
Which Jobs was known for.
That was his superpower.
It really does sound like a superpower.
It was this ability to bend reality.
Okay, come on.
I'm serious. To convince himself and others that the impossible was possible.
Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, think about the development of the Macintosh.
Okay.
He set these incredibly ambitious deadlines.
Right.
Pushed his team to their limits, and somehow they managed to pull it off.
Because he convinced them that they could do it.
Exactly.
Wow.
It was a combination of charisma, relentless drive, and this unshakable belief in his own vision.
So it wasn't always a positive thing, though, right?
No, it definitely had its downsides.
Okay.
It could lead to burnout clashes with colleagues.
Right.
People felt like they were constantly under pressure.
But it also seems like it was kind of a key ingredient to their success.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they were able to achieve things that other companies just couldn't because of this.
That's right.
And then, of course, there's Jobs' obsession with design.
He was a design fanatic.
Oh, yeah.
He drew inspiration from everywhere, from Braun appliances to Japanese aesthetic.
Right.
He wanted Apple products to be more than just machines.
He wanted them to be beautiful.
Beautiful, intuitive,
Yeah.
even emotionally engaging.
Like he was thinking about how people would interact with these devices on a much deeper level.
Absolutely.
And he wasn't afraid to push his team hard to achieve that vision.
He was demanding.
Isaacson describes his management style as intense, volatile.
He wasn't always the easiest person to work with,
Not at all.
but he created a culture of excellence.
Right. He inspired this incredible level of passion and dedication.
People wanted to work for him. They wanted to be part of something special.
Even if it meant, butting heads with him occasionally.
It came with the territory.
It's almost like that creative friction was necessary.
It fueled their innovation.
It's a reminder that leadership isn't always about being nice.
Sometimes you need to push people out of their comfort zones
Challenge conventions.
to achieve something truly groundbreaking.
And the Mac was definitely groundbreaking.
Oh, yeah. It changed the game in terms of design and user experience.
It's incredible to think how much influence those early decisions had on the tech landscape we know today.
It's hard to imagine the world without Apple Pay.
It is. But of course, Jobs' journey wasn't always smooth sailing.
No, it wasn't. He faced his share of setbacks.
His time at Apple took a dramatic turn, leading to his exile from the company he founded.
It was a painful chapter.
Filled with power struggles and clashing visions.
But it also set the stage for an incredible comeback.
We're going to dive into that and more when we come back.
Stay tuned.
So it's hard to imagine Apple without Steve at the helm.
Right. It really is. It was a dramatic turn of events for sure.
So, how did it even happen? How did he end up leaving the company that he poured so much of himself into?
It's interesting because that same intensity that really drove Apple's early success also created a lot of friction as the company grew.
So his leadership style, which had been so effective in those early days, kind of started to clash with the evolving needs of a larger organization.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. His need for control, his tendency to micromanage,
Right.
it just created a lot of tension with executives and employees.
And then there was John Sculley,
Right.
the CEO that Jobs himself had brought in.
Yeah, Scully was this experienced executive from Pepsi.
Right.
He was supposed to bring this corporate discipline to Apple.
And it seemed like a good idea at the time, right?
On paper, it was a perfect match.
Yeah.
But their relationship deteriorated pretty quickly.
So what went wrong?
Well, they had very different visions for the company.
Okay.
Scully was more pragmatic,
Right.
more focused on the bottom line,
Sure.
while Jobs remained fixated on his often uncompromising vision.
So it was a clash of personalities as much as anything else.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then there was the Macintosh,
Right.
which was Jobs' baby.
He was so passionate about it.
But it wasn't performing as well as they'd hoped.
Okay.
It faced stiff competition.
Right.
Sales were sluggish.
And Jobs was not happy.
Not at all. He was
Yeah.
frustrated. He was angry.
So it all kind of came to a head, right?
Yeah, there was this power struggle.
Right.
And ultimately, Jobs was removed from the Macintosh division.
It must have been devastating for
Wow,
him.
it was a huge blow.
I mean, to be ousted from the company he created.
It's like being rejected by your own child.
Yeah, it's a really tough thing to go through.
Jobs was resilient.
He didn't just disappear.
No, he channeled his energy into new ventures.
Right. NXT and Pixar.
Exactly. Two completely different companies.
But both driven by his ambition and his desire to innovate.
He wasn't content to just sit on the sidelines.
So tell me about NXT. What was that all about?
Well, NXT was his attempt to create a high-end computer for the education market.
Okay.
These machines were technologically advanced,
Right.
but they were also very expensive.
So not really a mass market product.
No, it was a niche market.
But it did have a lasting impact, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The operating system, NXT Step,
Right.
would later become the foundation for Mac OS X.
Wow. So even though NXT itself wasn't a huge commercial success, right, technology lived on.
It's kind of ironic, right?
It is.
His creation eventually found its way back to Apple.
It's like a prodigal son story.
In a way, it is.
And then there's Pixar,
Ah, Pixar.
which of course is a household name now.
One of the most successful animation studios of all time.
But back when Jobs acquired it from George Lucas,
1986.
it seemed like a risky bet.
It did. But Jobs saw the potential of computer animation.
And he was right.
He nurtured Pixar's talent, gave them the resources and the freedom to create something truly special.
And the result was Toy Story.
A groundbreaking film.
It changed everything.
It did. It ushered in a new era of animation.
And it made Pixar a global powerhouse.
And Jobs a very wealthy man.
So while he was away from Apple, he wasn't exactly resting on his laurels.
No, he was building new companies.
Right.
Refining his leadership style.
And maybe learning some valuable lessons along the way.
I think so. He was growing and evolving as a leader.
And meanwhile, back at Apple, things weren't going so well.
No, they'd lost their way a bit.
They were struggling to find their footing in a rapidly changing market.
A series of missteps.
Right.
A lack of clear direction.
They needed something.
They needed a spark.
And that spark came in the form of Steve Jobs.
The prodigal son returns.
It's a classic redemption arc.
It really is.
So 1997,
Apple acquired NXT,
bringing Jobs back into the fold.
initially as an advisor,
Right.
but he quickly rose to CEO.
And that marked the beginning of what many consider Apple's golden age.
The iMac,
The iPod,
the iTunes Store,
the iPhone.
an incredible run of innovative products.
It's almost hard to believe how quickly they turned things around.
Jobs brought a renewed focus on design,
Simplicity.
user experience,
He had this uncanny ability to anticipate what consumers wanted.
even before they knew it themselves.
He famously said that Apple would be the digital hub.
Connecting people to their music, their photos, their videos.
Their lives.
Exactly. He wanted to create this seamless ecosystem of products and services.
It was a bold vision.
And it worked.
The iMac was a huge hit.
That colorful design.
All-in-one functionality.
It was a breath of fresh air.
It signaled that Apple was back.
And they were ready to disrupt the industry once again,
And then came the iPod.
which revolutionized how we listen to music.
1,000 songs in your pocket.
It was more than just a music player.
It was a cultural phenomenon,
A fashion statement.
a symbol of the digital age.
And the iTunes Store made it so easy to buy and manage digital music.
It was a game changer.
It was. And Jobs was a master negotiator,
He managed to get the record labels on board,
which was no small feat.
and he created a platform that benefited both the music industry and consumers.
It was a win-win.
And you could really see his passion for music in everything they did.
From the iPod's design to the iconic ads featuring musicians like Bob Dylan and U2.
He understood the power of music to connect with people on an emotional level.
And he wanted to make that experience as enjoyable and accessible as possible.
And speaking of connecting with people,
Yeah, he had another big idea.
the Apple stores.
Right. He wanted to create a retail experience that was as innovative and as well designed as their products,
He envisioned these beautiful, inviting spaces.
where people could experience Apple products firsthand,
Talk to knowledgeable staff.
get a feel for the Apple culture.
And it worked.
The Apple stores became destinations.
People would go there just to hang out,
To learn.
to be part of the Apple community.
Jobs was obsessed with every detail of the store design.
Right, from the layout and the lighting,
The materials.
the uniforms.
He wanted to create a seamless and enjoyable customer experience,
And of course, there's the Genius Bar,
which was a brilliant idea.
a dedicated space for technical support.
It was a testament to Jobs' understanding of the importance of customer service
He wanted to make sure that people had a positive experience with Apple.
every step of the way.
And the success of the Apple stores is undeniable.
They've become a model for retail innovation in the digital age.
It's amazing to think how much they've changed the way we shop.
Jobs' vision was so much bigger than just selling products.
He was building an ecosystem.
A world where Apple's hardware, software, and services all work together seamlessly.
And that brings us to the iPhone.
The device that changed everything?
It wasn't just a phone.
It was a pocket-sized computer.
A gateway to the internet.
A platform for an endless array of applications.
It was revolutionary.
Jobs had been dreaming of a device like this for years.
He saw the potential of a truly mobile computer.
One that could connect people to information and to each other in ways that were previously unimaginable.
And as with everything he did,
He obsessed over every detail.
the design, the functionality, the user experience,
He pushed his team to the limit,
demanding perfection.
even delaying the launch to make sure everything was just right.
And the world took notice.
The iPhone was an instant sensation.
It quickly became one of the most iconic and influential products of all time.
It spawned a whole new industry of apps and mobile services.
It changed how we communicate,
How we consume information.
how we navigate our world.
It's hard to overstate its impact.
It's true. We take it for granted now.
But back then, it was like something out of science fiction.
The iPhone was a triumph of design, engineering, and marketing.
It was the culmination of Jobs' lifelong pursuit of creating products that were both beautiful and transformative.
And it solidified Apple's position as a leader in the digital age.
But Jobs wasn't done yet.
He had one more groundbreaking product up his sleeve.
The iPad.
Another device that initially faced skepticism.
But ultimately redefined an entire category.
Jobs envisioned a tablet computer for the masses.
A device that was perfect for browsing the web, reading books, watching movies, playing games.
He waited until the technology was ready.
He wanted to create a device that was thin, light, and intuitive with a long battery life.
And he did.
The iPad was controlled by a multi-touch display just like the iPhone,
But it had a larger screen.
and an interface designed specifically for tablet use.
Jobs believed that the iPad was the perfect device for a post-PC world.
Where people would increasingly consume content and interact with technology through mobile devices.
And once again, his vision proved to be prescient,
The iPad was a huge success
creating a new category of devices.
and transforming how we interact with information and entertainment.
It was another example of his relentless pursuit of perfection, his unwavering belief in the power of design, and his vision of technology as a force for good in the world.
But as Apple reached new heights of success, Jobs faced his own personal challenges.
His health was declining.
And he was forced to confront his own mortality.
It's a chapter filled with courage, resilience, and ultimately a poignant reflection on life and legacy.
We'll delve into that story after a short.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even someone like Steve Jobs, with all of his drive and ambition, was still vulnerable.
Right, he was human after all.
So his cancer diagnosis in 2003, it really cast a shadow over those later years.
It did. It's a difficult topic, but Isaacson handles it with sensitivity.
Yeah, and honesty. He doesn't shy away from the complexities of Jobs' response.
His initial resistance to conventional treatment.
Right, he opted for those alternative therapies instead.
Which drew a lot of criticism.
Yeah, and, it's understandable why people were concerned.
It's a natural human reaction to want to explore all options.
Especially when facing something as scary as cancer.
Absolutely. But it's also important to listen to medical professionals.
And Jobs eventually did undergo surgery and other treatments.
But by then, the disease had progressed.
It took a toll on his health, his energy.
Yet he still remained incredibly focused on Apple.
It's like he was driven by this desire to leave a lasting legacy.
To ensure that the company would continue to thrive even without him.
One of the things he focused on was the shift to cloud computing.
Right, iCloud.
It was an extension of his digital hub strategy.
But this time the hub wasn't a physical device.
It was this vast network of servers.
Allowing users to access their content from anywhere.
It was a bold move.
And it paved the way for the cloud-based services that we rely on today.
Jobs was also deeply involved in the design of Apple's new headquarters.
Apple Park.
That futuristic spaceship-like structure.
He poured his heart and soul into that project.
He saw it as a symbol of Apple's culture and values.
A lasting monument to the company he built.
Every detail mattered to him.
The curvature of the glass walls, the landscaping, the materials, everything had to be perfect.
It's a testament to his vision and his attention to detail.
Absolutely.
And as his health declined, Jobs started to reflect more openly on his life and his work.
Remember that famous commencement speech he gave at Stanford?
Yeah. Stay hungry, stay foolish.
It was a powerful message.
It really resonated with people.
He was urging graduates to pursue their passions with unwavering determination.
To embrace curiosity and to never stop learning.
It was a glimpse into his own philosophy.
The lessons he had learned along the way,
And in his final years, he also made efforts to repair personal relationships.
particularly with his daughter Lisa.
Their relationship had been strained for many years.
But they eventually reconciled.
And Jobs expressed regret for his earlier actions.
It's a reminder that even the most successful people have regrets,
That family is important.
and that it's never too late to make amends.
Steve Jobs' story is a fascinating one.
It's a complex tapestry of brilliance, ambition, flaws, and ultimately a search for meaning and connection.
He was a demanding leader.
But he was also a visionary.
He was a master of design and marketing.
And he believed deeply in the power of technology to change the world,
He left behind a company that continues to shape our lives.
and a legacy of products that have become indispensable.
What are your lasting impressions of Steve Jobs?
I think for me, it's his unwavering commitment to his vision. He had this almost unshakable belief in his own ideas.
And he pursued them relentlessly.
He wasn't afraid to challenge conventions, to push boundaries, to take risks.
And he demanded the same from everyone around him.
His leadership style wasn't always easy to deal with.
But it was undeniably effective.
He inspired a generation of designers, engineers, and entrepreneurs
To think differently.
to strive for excellence.
It's clear that he left an indelible mark on the world.
And this biography offers a fascinating and nuanced portrait of the man behind the myth.
If you're intrigued by Steve Jobs' story, we highly recommend checking out Walter Isaacson's book.
It's a captivating read that delves into the complexities of his personality and his impact on technology and culture.
We've only scratched the surface of this fascinating story, and we'd love to hear your thoughts.
What aspects of Steve Jobs' life or legacy resonated most with you? Share your insights and questions in the comments section or on social media.
Until next time, keep exploring those classic books and the remarkable lives they reveal.
And we'll see you on the next deep dive.